My colleague Brian Cheung picks things up in Miami. But first, take a look at how new technology is changing the game when it comes to audience expectations.
The ability to sing through a horrible butterfly attack like that is amazing.
Here's where the Senate stands at this hour, 46-45.
Fuerte el aplauso para mi sol de México. Hawaii's governor is vowing to rebuild the hardest hit areas.
So just looking at this 3D mock-up that we have in our studio, and it's quite extraordinary.
Los tornados son los vórtices de aire más poderosos que puede producir nuestra atmósfera.
I'm Pippa Stevens with your CNBC News Update.
And ahead this hour, from rate hikes to cuts by next year.
Este domingo, el pelotero dominicano David Ortiz hizo historia al ingresar al Salón de la Fama del Béisbol.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel on gaming, tech, and the audience. I'm Brian Cheung, NBC News business and data reporter, and we're coming to you live from Telemundo Center in Miami, Florida. And you've just seen some of the amazing high-tech work happening around NBCUniversal and Telemundo. And if there are any gamers watching today, let us know in the chat. I'm a big Zelda guy, too. I'm still working through the game. But even if you're not regularly playing video games, chances are you're familiar with the game Fortnite, one of the hottest video games on the market today. That game exists thanks to the Unreal Engine. It's the powerful rendering software that's not only transforming the gaming industry, but news, sports, and TV production too. And with audiences expecting more and more from our TV and movies, our award-winning technical teams here at NBCUniversal are using amazing tools like Unreal Engine to deepen the storytelling for our audiences at home. And for those of you participating virtually, please make sure to drop your questions in the Q&A box to the right of your screen, and we'll make sure to get to them throughout this discussion. We'll also be taking questions from our students at our NBCU Academy partner schools. And we want to give a shout out to one of those partner schools watching here in the Sunshine State. These University of Florida students are joining us from Gainesville, a little more than 300 miles north of here. So welcome, Gators. Great to have you here. But let's jump straight into it with our panel. Joining us today, we have an all-star group of people to talk about all of this technology from all corners of this country. We have Yori Kumalasari, DreamWorks animation lead effects Houdini artist. We have Benjamin Daniels, vice president of production and production technology at Universal Alternative Studios. We have Fabian Albarracin, director of real-time graphics at Telemundo, and James Matarese, managing art director of real-time graphics at NBC News. So let's just get right into it by having each of you do a quick 30-second kind of elevator pitch intro of yourselves. And I want to begin to my left with everyone here in Miami, and then we'll go to Yuri.
Yeah, I'm Benjamin Daniels. I'm a VP of production and production tech at Universal Television Alternative, and it sits underneath the Universal Studio Group. And we produce a whole bunch of different programming, but a ton of our shows like The Weakest Link and That's My Jam and The Wall and World of Dance and other shows on NBC like AGT and The Voice all use a lot of gaming technology for how we make those shows look great.
I am Fabian Albarracin. I am the director of real-time graphics here at Telemundo Center. I am responsible for all the graphics playback operations on air, and also for the prompter operations and the graphics lab, where we create all the graphics like these virtual sets and AR.
I'm James Matarese, head of real-time graphics for NBC News, MSNBC, NBC News Now, and CNBC, where we do virtual production as well as bread and butter, what I call bread and butter traditional graphics for broadcasts, such as the banners that are right here on the screen that my boy Josh on a team created. Good job, Josh.
And Yuri?
Hi, my name is Yori Kumalasari, and I am a lead effects artist at DreamWorks Animation. I am responsible for doing effects for the movie, such as fire, destruction, magic, rain, etc.
Right. And you can see just all the different types of ways in which we're employing this technology in different business units across our company. But let's begin by kind of diving deeper into each of your applications. Let's start off with James. You work with NBC News, MSNBC, and kind of the application on the news side. Tell us about how you use real-time graphics. What does that entail?
Sure. So, as I alluded to before, across the realm of real-time graphics, we sort of right now kind of split it up into sort of two worlds, which is the traditional graphics that are template-based. That's, it's very important for a producer, to be able to tell the story, specifically in a breaking news live television environment. So that's very template-based. It is, the banners, the full screens, the monitors, all these graphics that help tell that story. But need to be inserted live, and they need to be, changeable, swappable. So all that stuff runs on a real-time engine, and it's generating on the fly. And then there's the virtual production side, where, we're in a green screen area, we're putting either a realistic set or something fantastical behind the talent. And that's where we're leveraging Unreal Engine and some gaming technologies. So it's sort of those two worlds that we're currently implementing now.
Well, let me throw it over to Yuri now, because James was talking about doing it live, but at DreamWorks, you're using rendering tech for productions that aren't necessarily live. So how do you incorporate the technology there? What are the unique challenges and kind of opportunities in doing so?
Yeah, so at DreamWorks Animation, we just started using real-time graphics for Kung Fu Panda 4, the next movie coming out. And we use it for previs, which is like, where we before we actually create the assets, we try to figure out the cameras for each shot or the environment. And also we use the real-time graphics for lighting keys to help out with the lighting keys. So we give it to the art directors, and then they can paint it over it instead of they have to draw everything. And also in the clip here, we use it for scouting. So we can walk around the set of Kung Fu Panda, and we can look around the environment, and the story artists can use it to figure out where they can put a shot. Like, oh, maybe this alley, we can use it for the fight scene, or this harbor where Poe can talk to another master or something like that. And yeah, so we're using this because, it's so, real-time graphic is so fast, so we can do everything on the spot. So if we show an environment to the art director, and he said, oh, change the lighting to nighttime, change the lighting to daytime, what can we see, and change the shadow direction on this side, and we can do it like live, like in front of him. So everything goes quicker than before.
I'm so amped up for Kung Fu Panda 4, by the way. Let me toss it over to you, Fabian. Telemundo, is it very similar on the news side of how you're applying this technology? There's also a lot of sports, I imagine, you have to work with as well.
Yes, it is exactly the same as James described. All the lower tiers, all the full screens, everything is the same. But at Telemundo, we are a little different because we do also entertainment, we do live events, we do sports. So in the sports, one of the important things is how to get real-time data and feed those graphics so the audience can see what is happening. Like, for example, statistics during the game. And also you can put virtual lines during the game on the football, so you can see where the player has to go or they need to pass, and those marks. So all that kind of stuff we do here at Telemundo.
And Ben, you're in the TV production side of things for entertainment. how creative are you getting in trying to incorporate graphics for your side of the business?
Yeah, I think that what we try to appreciate is what tools can we give our creatives, our directors and producers to tell their stories. So the more tools you can provide to them, the better outlet. And so for us, on the alternative side, we've been using this sort of game engine technology for a long time. I think Unreal is sort of like the new kid on the block, but Hypnotizer and Pixera and Disguise, these are things that we've been leveraging for a long time. If you've watched any sort of big entertainment or game show or competition show, you know, we've had big LED screens and a ton of graphics and things happening on them for 20 plus years. And I think that for us, when you look at how we're trying to leverage the graphics, is what can we do to elevate the experience for the viewer at home? And so I think especially when you look at some of the competition shows, it's creating performances that with this sort of technology and real-time graphics, the viewer at home is like, whoa, what did I just see?
This is incredible right
and,
here from America's Got Talent.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that that's sort of our goal is what can we provide our creatives to help tell their story better?
And you know, I want to actually pause for a moment here, guys, because, you know, we've been having a really good conversation so far. We've been talking a lot, but I also wanted to take a minute to tell the audience that we're not actually sitting on the awesome Telemundo sports set. We're really here in Studio L inside Telemundo Center, which is Telemundo's largest virtual production set. I cannot describe to the audience just how deep and how large this set is. It'd be tricky, right? We just turn it back on. So again, we're now back in the set. But let's switch it up even more. What do you think, guys, right? You want to switch it up even get now? We are in Australia. We're right outside the Sydney Opera House in the land down under, right? Pretty cool. You want to change again? Should we change again? Maybe we can try something else now. We are in Telemundo's virtual garage set, and maybe we'll just do one more switch. Why not? Just to have a little fun with it, right? Let's do one more. And now we are on the set of the Olympic show on Peacock. So you can see that with this tech, we can really go anywhere in the world. And by the way, Fabian, shout out to you and your team for putting this together. After all, we are on your home court right now here in Miami. Tell us about the tech that makes this power work beyond putting just a bunch of green drapes around the place.
I think I can start with the people. All these technical people that we have here, the lighting guys, the chroma key guys, the upper management that trust in our work. And it has been a long journey, but we has doing milestone along the way. And I think last but not least, the team that is creating this is a small team, but it's a very talented team. I think without them, we cannot be able to do that. That is the first thing. The second thing, I think, is Unreal Engine. It is a software that it gives us the quality that we needed right now and the quality that the audience wanted. So now the people cannot see the difference between what is real and what is not real. And the third is we have this beautiful facility here in Miami, big studios, big green screens. We have sensor on the cameras. We have hardware that is capable to do all these graphics in real time. So it is a combination of everything, but the people, I think, is the most important.
People and then software. I like that. Let's go to one of our questions from one of the universities that we're partnering with. So we've got one from Arizona State University with Alexis Davis, ASU student reporter. Hey, Alexis. ASU student reporter. Hey, Alexis.
Good morning, everyone from downtown Phoenix. We're so excited to be with you from all the way across the country. My name's Alexis Davis, and I'm from Bowie, Maryland, and I'm actually graduating from Cronkite Sports Journalism program in December. We actually have one question from Nate, and he is a senior journalism student from here, right in the Valley.
Hi, thank you for being here and taking the time to be on this panel. My question is, what sort of challenges are the journalism industry and the entertainment industry facing when adapting to these new technologies, specifically like Unreal Engine 5?
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges we have is when you say virtual production, you know, what that means here at the Telemundo set versus what it means at Industrial Light Magic versus what it means at Universal Television in LA are all honestly a little different. And I think that one of the big challenges is creating the ontology around how we communicate and talk about virtual production and each of those things. And the other part, and I think the part that's probably exciting for a lot of our students watching today, is who are the people that are going to work in this industry? I think beforehand, if you wanted to be a camera guy, you worked in camera department. And if you wanted to do makeup, you did makeup. And here, there isn't a conference that goes by where there isn't a keynote or a speaker or a session about who is going to work in virtual production. And I think that that is something that is exciting for everyone home, is that it is something that, because of Unreal Engine, because of the ability to sort of practice and work at your home, you can start to be involved in that way. But I think the ontology is the biggest challenge I see.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. You know, specific to you know, you mentioned Unreal Engine 5, right? On the news side, you know, we're using Unreal Engine 5, and it's an interesting sort of, you know, situation where in the gaming world, you know, you're always on the cutting edge, and you're jumping versions. In the news world, right, we need to be. It's a little more monolithic, right? So, like, it's tough to jump ahead. You know, it's tough to change systems because the technology is not necessarily concerned with backwards compatibility. So the issue with us, like an actual real technical issue, is when we want to push the boundaries, we have to be worried about all the stuff that we currently have entrenched, right? And then how do we move that forward a generation, and how do we now retest all this stuff? So it's this fight between wanting to be on the cutting edge, but also needing to remain stable and reliable. So.
It's like trying to put the Xbox CD into the Xbox 360, right? Like
Exactly.
It's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
That's a good point that you bring up. Let's go to another question that we have from City College in New York City. Stay tuned, reporter fellow Bridget Yasmi is there with a question. Bridget.
Hey, Brian. Yes, I am here with an incredible group of students who have been captivated by this presentation and are equally as excited to ask a question. Our first question is going to come from Ozma. She's a senior, and she's a former NBCU fellow.
Hi. So one of my questions is, how can we incorporate the use of artificial intelligence into visual production? And do you think it could be something that we could work towards more in the future?
Ooh, tough one.
Listen, we're going to be leveraging AI. You know, there's no way to advance in this industry, what we're doing, without taking advantage of AI. It's about when does that happen, where is it applied. You know, specifically on the news side, where we're concerned about authenticity and we're concerned about, you know, there's a fine line. You know, we're tricking the audience, but in you know, where we are with the backdrop that we're in, but there's a standard there, right? Like there's certain spots where when you're telling an editorial story, it needs to be made, you know, apparent to the audience what we're doing to be fair in editorially, right? So there's areas behind the scenes where we're going to be leveraging AI, which helps us, you know, do things like naming. You know, we're on a panel right now, and as the camera jumps around, right, we can use AI to you know, understand, be self-aware of every time we change that camera shot, it'll name each of us separately, and that'll happen automatically, right? But when it comes to sort of, we don't want to go too far. We don't want to. We want to stay authentic, right? As well. We need to be, you know, honest brokers, at least on the news side, right? So there's that balance as well.
I think, like most technology, it's the luxury that becomes a necessity. And so I think now AI, at least on the TV production side, we're already using it a lot more in the post workflows. So almost all of our transcriptions, these are being done with AI. We're doing a lot more automation of how we ingest the footage, to Josh's point, and pull it into the system and transcode it. So I think it's more so, you know, how do we look at our creatives wanting to use that AI, and, you know, especially with virtual audiences, and, you know, if you think about like what Gladiator looked like, 20 years ago as they do it now? What are they going to be able to do with AI now as far as the sort of crowds that are in the Coliseum? I'm excited to see that technology and how AI is leveraged.
I want to bring in Yuri really quickly because I'm curious to hear about the application of AI at DreamWorks.
Yeah, we're just starting to, explore AI for our movies. Like, I can't really say what exactly, but I know of some other studios, they render their images in low-res quality because sometimes it takes hours to render just one frame. So they just render it low-res, and then they use AI to bring that into a high-res resolution images, so it's faster. So that's one of the examples of AI that we use at DreamWorks.
Awesome. I believe we have another question now. We're going to go to the middle of the country from KOMU anchor Sarah Moyers, who's at the University of Missouri. So, hey, Sarah.
Hey, good morning. I am here coming to you live from a classroom on the University of Missouri campus, and I am joined by one of our students, an MU freshman, Tom, and he has a question for you guys.
So for many consumers, animation is strictly in the realm of entertainment. So how do you go about maintaining an edge of seriousness when it comes to integrating graphic technology, or possibly even break down that barrier?
Fabian, James?
I think this technology is going to be everywhere. For sports, news, scripted, we do a lot of novellas here, the scripted production and movie files. And now we are checking new technology, how we're going to use Unreal Engine. Like, for example, if we need to be in New York right now, we don't have to go to New York. We don't have to move all the people. So we can build New York and put it over here, and it's going to be a lot faster. We don't have to thinking about travel, how is the day, permission of the city. It's a lot better to do it in this control environment.
It's a good question, right? And it's a question that we ask ourselves pretty much every day when we're trying to conceive of, what is the best tool to tell this story? For us, it's on the news side. Is this gratuitous? Are we just doing it just to be pretty and just to be funny? We deserve that. We do that sometimes, right? We like to show off. But it's also about, is this the correct tool to tell that story, right? Because we don't want to choose a story that downplays the seriousness of that story by doing something that is, over the top or cartoonish or, right? So we need to respect the story that we're telling, and we're really asking ourselves that question all the time. What you're seeing right now, right, is from our election coverage that we were actually just very fortunate to have won an Emmy for recently for technical excellence. And when we were doing this project, we're asking ourselves this very question, right? Is how do we respect this story? And I think we found that balance, right? But we do actually ask ourselves that, right?
Well, and there are interesting kind of ethical questions too about, like, let's say, for example, you have a reporter in a green screen that's presenting themselves as being in a certain location, how you make it clear that they might not be, even if we're projecting that. And I think that that's a kind of more existential question that I'm sure a lot of our J schools that are participating as part of this panel are also thinking about as well. But let's go to another one of those schools, back to Arizona State University with Alexis Davis. Alexis, you have another question. Alexis.
Hi again, Brian. We're back with Nicolette, who's actually studying journalism at Cronkite as well.
Hi, my question is, has the use of gaming technology in news and broadcasting changed audience demographics in any way?
Anyone?
I think, listen, I think we want to remain relevant, right? That's the again, I keep saying on the news side, but really when the responsibility of news broadcasts is not only telling the story, but finding the audience as well, right? So I think when we can use this technology to, find a younger audience, find people that maybe are not watching or consuming on traditional, forms of long-form television or linear television, when these things can be chopped up and people can find these stories because they they're visually compelling and they become shared. And then, it's a way for us to reach those audiences, which I think those audiences are more diverse than maybe a traditional older, consumption specifically for like cable and network television. So I think that these tools, specifically help us find a new audience and ultimately, there's important stories that we're telling. And I think that these tools help reach that audience. So I do.
I was going to say, I think that, we used to have this term cord cutting, and now we actually just refer to cordless, people that have never actually had traditional linear TV. And so to James' point, what are we creating so that when a younger or a newer viewer finds this content, are they going to come back and visit it? So, we're seeing that a ton of our programming across NBCUniversal ends up on Peacock, whether that's the next day or whether it's live streaming. So if there's a newer audience watching it, well, we need to create something that engages them enough that they want to come back. And I think that any technology like this can pull in newer audiences. But I would also say, like, to an earlier question, it's really the eye test, right? Like, we're not going to put something on that doesn't look good. And so I think that when you look at this technology, it gets better every single day. I guarantee you, while we've been sitting on this set, somebody has made a newer Rain or a newer Fire that looks even better than it did. And I think that's what's really exciting, is how can we pull that in to help our creatives tell stories.
I mean, the possibilities truly are endless with all of this technology. But hey, everybody, this has been a really great panel. I've learned a lot that I think I can take back even in my own business reporting. But I just want to thank all of the panelists here for participating.